Hello. Good morning. Welcome. Buenos dias. How are you? I'm Amy Beth.
For our English friends, that means good morning.
Good morning. Ciao. Because you can say that as you enter or as you leave. It doesn't matter.
Ciao, Bella.
Ciao, Bella. Good morning. Good morning. How are you? Okay, you guys. I'm Amy Beth. He's JP. We are the right side. Sinclair will be back tomorrow. They're making their way back from that most awful of places called the Florida Keys.
Do you have an update of their travel?
No, but I'm pretty sure once she gets on a flight, there will be more texting.
Well, we normally get an airport because Allison gets bored, and so I bet whenever they're at the airport, she'll probably.
Oh no, we're going to get an update.
Yeah,
the updates are going to happen. So, JP, this is going to be the last edition for now of Pet Tales.
Yeah.
So we've got a Pet Tales update for both of us. We have our words of the day. We have news. I found a fantastic article by a lady who writes for Red State, among other outlets. And she has an incredible breakdown of the maps. And because I realize that we're just throwing around terms, we're volleying like we know back and forth what we're talking about. This is a fabulous breakdown. So we'll quickly hit that in the plunge today at whatever time JP tells us, probably 11, because we have Lieutenant Governor candidate John Wahl on at 11:30. And then tomorrow, don't you worry. Not only do we have the Bussy brief, but we have
Wait. Brace yourself for this. Brace yourself. Okay.
Brace. Everybody head down, brace. Barry Moore is coming on the show tomorrow.
How about that?
Pretty excited. JP, I say to you, bravo.
Thanks.
Bravo.
It's the fun part of the job.
It's fun. And then we have candidates in the weeks to come. So we're very excited about that. Ready to get to it today. Also, don't forget, we're going to have a tour around Twix and the montage. So a lot to jam in on a Thursday, but it's Thursday. And I'm excited about that. But I'm not excited for either one of us for our Pet Tales update. JP.
Where's my cat?
That's good.
I'll just say the beginning of that sound effect was me all this week of the barking and the "Where's my cat?"
That's good.
Where's Kate?
my cat?
Is that Steve Carell? Is that his voice?
It could be.
I love it.
Sounds like
So what's there to update, JP, after your week? I guess you would call it your residency.
my residency, my
at
summer
the Sinclairs.
my summer camp at the Sinclairs.
Do tell. While we sip our coffee.
So pretty like the whole week that I have been pet sitting for the Sinclairs while they've been gone has pretty much gone without a hitch. Like it's gone pretty much perfectly.
Yeah.
Except for Kitty Bear not wanting me to change her diaper, but alas,
It's okay.
it's fine. But so they got two dogs. Bo, who's like, I don't know, he's older, 4 or 5, I'd probably guess something like that. And then they got a puppy that's like 7 months old. His name is Bear. Bear's the sweetest puppy I've ever been around, but he will chew things up if you leave him alone and he's not crated up. Like he will chew pillows, blankets, anything he can get a hold of. So whenever I'm sleeping away from Bear, he's got to be crated up. Well, that had no issue the whole time this week. There was no issue with that. Anytime I was gone, Bear was crated up. I come back. He was excited to see me. I let him out. We go to, whatever. So last night, this was the last night I was spending at the Sinclairs. I walk in the main house from where I was sleeping. And to my surprise, who is excited and greeting me at the door? He's jumping for joy. It's Bear. And I immediately walk in. I say, how did you get out of your crate? And I look on the floor, and I'll put up the video of it. One of my favorite hats is ripped to shreds
JP,
by Bear.
I'm so sorry.
The whole back half of the hat that was mesh is gone from Bear.
And you didn't just order that in the mail. You were there.
No. Yeah,
right?
look what the front of the hat says. Here, I'll see if I can get it.
It says
Yellowstone National Park.
JP.
That was my merch pickup from Yellowstone, and Bear donated. And then he also chewed up the end of the plug end of a cord of a foot massager off. That was sitting out. But I am dumbfounded and baffled still as to how Bear managed to get out of his crate. It is one of those crates where, you shut the door and there's two latches, top and bottom, lock. I locked, and even every night when I put them up, I locked both latches. I pulled on the door to make sure it is locked. He can't get out. I did that exact routine last night. Put him in, lock, pull on the door. He can't get out. Okay, we're good. And I come in and he got out. He escaped from the crate. I have no idea how he did that. And I'm actually a bit impressed. I'm impressed that he was able to get out of the crate in the first place. Pretty annoyed that he chewed up my hat, but I'm like, yeah, I wish you could have seen my face, because I walked in and he was like jumping and I was like, Bear. And I go, wait, you're not supposed to be out. How did you do that? I don't know, but that was my morning this morning.
JP. It started with some vicious barking, like dogs fighting barking.
Oh, your morning?
This is yesterday afternoon. I was a little stunned, so I couldn't even really process it until I called my daughter this morning. So this is a kind of barking, you guys. When you were a little kid, your dad got the hose to spray the dogs, to separate the dogs.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of barking and fighting. I'm going to see one dog on top of another dog, and my dogs are large.
Wait, is this the first fight, or is this yesterday?
Oh, this is just yesterday.
So this
is not
second.
Moose. Moose is inside. Bear and Buffy are in the back. Moose stays in the house with us. All great dogs, but you've got to know your limitations. And I can't see what they're fighting over. I can just see that they're fighting, and that Bear has decided to get on top of Buffy. Bear's 125 pounds. Buffy's like 100. And he's on top of her. He's massive. Maybe she's 90. He's massive. And I'm like, thank God Chris is home. And I'm like, Chris, but screaming, get here. So he goes out to the back to see what it is. And it was a massacre. It's a massacre. It was a chicken massacre.
Oh, no.
5 of them are dead.
Oh, no.
Dead. Do you think you could play the clucking sound for me once more? So
I could play this too.
So we have a beautiful coop in the back with extremely strong hog wire. But my Bear is so strong, he rammed the front of the coop such that it bent it back and up. So the chickens are like, oh, we'll come out now. And one by one, it's just like war, where you wait for your enemy to step in your trap. And the chickens did it. 5 of my little 10-weekers stepped right into the trap. And they did. And I had to pick them up. He did not. They were not bleeding out. He just broke their neck because he's thinking he's playing with them. And he's not just playing with them. He killed them.
Killed them.
Only one is left. And her name is now officially Phoenix, because she rose from the ashes of the massacre to live. Randelia, my original chicken from one of our amazing listeners from our days gone by, is still alive. She is a fighter. And now Phoenix has risen from the ashes and she's walking around like, what? I'm like, did you not see your siblings? They did. She's like, you know what? I'm over here getting some worms.
Ain't got nothing to do with me.
I got nothing to do. So if, we weren't copyright restricted right now, I would be playing Survivor by Destiny's Child because that is this chicken. So I have 2 left and broken hog wire and a dog that's looking at me like, what? And I'm like, dude. So we did bring Buffy in and her name is Buffalo, but she came in and was just an angel inside. So I'm going to be bringing her in more. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with Bear. He's got a lot of energy. And even though we have a backyard that dogs dream of, okay, I'm not a dog, but I'm just saying if I were a dog, I'd want this kind of backyard. He may need a farm. So anywho,
so how many chickens is that dead from your dogs?
You really want to insult to injury?
No, I'm curious. I want to know. I mean, you don't have to answer.
No, I'm going to answer you.
I'm just curious.
They have killed yesterday. They got to 5. And then before that, 1 rooster we had to rehome, 1 chicken left, and then 1 Randelia. So then they got to 7 plus 5 is 12.
Hey, man. Them boys are going to be boys.
I know that's what all the vets say. They're like, they're just being dogs. I'm like, yeah, but Moose looks at him as like, he'll just hang out with the chickens. But not Bear. He wants to play with the chickens by chomping down on their neck and just dropping them in the backyard. Like, all right. That was my afternoon, JP.
Dang, man. We both had some interesting last couple of
Bear,
hours.
your bear
My
massacred your hat. My bear massacred my chickens. But you know what? We're up and not crying.
I just want
Here we are.
I just want to play like In the Arms of an Angel as I'm looking at this picture of my hat.
Are we allowed to play it?
It'll get copyrighted,
We've
unfortunately.
get so much trouble.
But yeah, I like the
Just that's the accompanying music. In the arms of an angel.
just like the
Fly.
5 seconds of realization of, hey Bear, wait, you're not supposed to be. I see my hat everywhere on the ground, and I go,
Yeah.
oh, you little.
I
love you so much, but that's not cool.
No. And they just look at you with these big, giant eyes of love.
And they're like,
Pulls
JP's back.
of love.
They're like,
And they're
JP.
like, Mom and Dad, aren't you proud of me?
Yeah.
I was playing with our other pets. No. So we actually, JP, because Bear and Buffy could get out of their old mesh or their wire crates. Chris found this whole other kind of crate that's this industrial crate that we're going to always have to have because dogs are smart.
Yes, they are.
Cats, I don't know if they're smart.
Cats are devious.
They just do their own thing, but dogs are smart and they watch and they figure things out. So I'm not shocked that Bear got out, but it's Murphy's Law or something like it that Bear got out and ate your hat on your last day at the Sinclair's Playhouse.
I mean, I almost called Allison. I said, I have amazing news for you. You have a teleporting dog. He teleported out of the crate. I don't know how. I will never know how he got out.
So much.
I will never know how he got out.
I love it. Well, that's our pet tales.
Wait, we gotta play it on the way out.
Play it out.
Where's
my cat?
That actually kind of fits our situations. The beginning was my situation, and then the ending was the dogs and your chickens was your situation.
I mean, it's like you planned it, JP. You're a genius. So, JP, because you're also a genius, and we have our next little quick segment of our words of the day. You ready?
Yeah, you go first.
All right.
I need to pick mine still.
All right. My word of the day, and it describes, hold on. I don't know if you're going to get this word, but I think you will, because a lot of politicians do it. And I don't mean, when I say politicians now, I don't necessarily mean the person elected to office. I put them in that whole group of politicos. Is that fair?
Mhm.
You know, they're just kind of all political and they're politicking to get what they want for their person or whatever. The definition of this word starts with an I. To gain another's favor or approval by deliberately doing or saying things they will like. In the old days, we called this people pleasing. In the new days, we're going to call this word.
Starts with an I.
Starts with an I.
Intriguing.
Close. Using in a sentence, scam artists often have an uncanny ability to blank themselves with their victim using subtle flattery. Brad from Crimestone,
I feel like it's on the tip of my tongue.
Lisa, John, Ashley, where you at?
I feel like it's on the tip of my tongue.
You ready for it?
Yeah, just tell me.
I mean, this is where we are right now. Ingratiate.
Brad got it. Right before you said it.
I knew you would.
Ingratiate. I've actually never heard of that word before.
It's a great word.
I never heard ingratiate.
Ingratiate. You see it, it drives you crazy. You know people are doing it. You know they're not sincere. It's not always used inappropriately. There can be times where you're going on a date with a girl and you're like, she's the one. So you're going to do things to ingratiate yourself to her, like take her to Culver's and get her a cookie dough mixer, you know, or you're going to take her to Perry's, whatever she likes. That's what you're going to do to ingratiate yourself to her. See, it can be used for good and not evil.
Evil.
There you go. Ingratiate. Word of the day. JP, what's your word of the day?
All right. This is one I don't use a lot. I do use sometimes. I don't use it that much, though. This meaning is when someone does something perfectly, completed a task exceptionally well, or looked flawless. It can apply to outfits, performances, or completing a challenge. It's a verb. So it's saying like, here's an example. Did you see their performance last night? They really blank. It's another verb. Like it's a verb with another meaning that has been stolen.
Okay. And it's not giving.
No.
It's not main character energy because that's not a verb.
No.
It's not aura. That's a noun.
It's a past tense verb.
Past tense verb. 8.
Yes.
Yay!
Yes.
One word. My daughter does use that word.
It's more of a girl. I don't use it a lot. It's more of a girl. Like it has two options: 8 or 8 and left no crumbs. That's definitely a girl. Mainly Gen Z girls.
Such a girl.
But I will use it occasionally, like sports related, if somebody does something good.
That's like this basketball series, right?
Yeah.
Could you use it in a sentence to describe the Knicks versus the Thunder?
Like the Knicks just 8.
Okay. See.
Like Jalen Brunson really 8.
I like that.
I haven't watched much of the NBA playoffs, but I'm a little bit petty because the Knicks, my Hawks, who I tentatively follow, almost won. And then the last game, the elimination game, the Knicks literally beat the brakes off of them. We got to pull up that final score.
Yeah, it was not good.
It was 140 to 89.
Ooh.
It's bad.
Oh,
Anyway.
Even supportive family members would have been like, I think you probably should find your own ride home tonight.
Yeah.
Chris is a follower and a fan of basketball in general. So when the playoffs are on, it is on in our house.
I'm just not an NBA fan anymore.
Yeah.
It got too commercialized.
It's very commercialized.
Lost its aura. When I grew up, and it was like
it was everything.
Yes, Kobe, LeBron, KD on the Thunder. That
Following our era of Larry, Bird, Shaq, Magic, like it went from one into the other seamlessly.
Yeah. No, like
and now, and Michael, obviously. But now you're looking at very commercialized, very bow the knee to China, very culturally way off base. And I wish that weren't the case, because I am a fan of a sport that's played inside. No weather delays. I always know how it's going to feel in there. I say yes to that. I love the hard work and effort, but I'm bothered that it seems like, who ever heard of before the last, let's say, 8 years of, well, I'm only going to play in X number of games this season, and I'm really only going to play for 26 minutes. Like, that's stupid. Either shorten the season and do things that people are going to pay attention to, or like me, I'm not paying attention until the end. We watch the opening weekend, and then we watch he watches it, but I want to see the end. That's it.
Even the presentation, I agree 100%. But even the presentation of the NBA has gotten so lazy. It's so minimalistic. And like when I was growing up, they would put the is it the Larry O'Brien that's the NBA trophy? Like they would put that on the court behind the logo of the team when it was the finals. And like it just had so much aura, and they cared so much more when I was growing up.
Yes.
I remember like my Little League friends and I, when LeBron was on the Heat and it was like the Heat Pacers Eastern Conference Finals, like we would all get together to watch those games. Like it was must watch. It was
it's what you're going to do.
Basketball. And it's just not that anymore.
Listen,
I feel old when I say that, but it wasn't that long ago that the NBA was like 2012, 2010. That era was great. Like prime LeBron era was great.
My Nana and Grandpa, where they lived in Akron, but we'd go watch the Cavs because some of the players went to their church, and my uncle got to know a couple of them. So that was a very fun fact. But when your Nana is into basketball, you can't help but think basketball is fun. So that was in the 80s Cavs. But something changed and they sold out. I think they can go back, but I think the season's too long. Yeah. I think the players are fussy. They pay them too much money. And I don't know. I think we've lost the plot a little bit, especially when you watch documentaries about Jerry West and his story. And then you look at Euro leagues, and some of them play better basketball than we do. Yeah. Because it's not so commercialized. It's really about basketball, and they pack it out without being ridiculous about, whatever group they're supporting at that point. Just play basketball. And that's all. We don't care about your politics. We just want you to play good basketball, because nobody really can.
It really went downhill after the bubble. And when they kneeled for the anthem for George Floyd.
I think you're right.
That was kind of the nail in the coffin.
It's fair. That's fair. So anywho, all right, after the break.
We got about 4 minutes. I pushed it back about 4 minutes.
Oh, thank you.
If we want to do some Twix.
Let's look at Twix, because I think it was popping off this morning, and I'm interested to see.
That top one.
Let's do the top one, because it will dovetail into our 11 o'clock hour conversation. So what are they saying in Missouri?
On May 27th, yesterday, 2026, the Missouri Supreme Court unanimously upheld the state's redrawn congressional map, confirming Governor Mike Kehoe's authority to call a special session for its creation. The 7-1 plan targets the Kansas City-based 5th District held by Democrat Emanuel Cleaver and meets compactness standards, rejecting challenges from the NAACP and others.
So how many seats did they just tell me that number again?
I think they went from 6-2 to 7-1, maybe.
Okay. Interesting. Other states are able to do this. We're like stuck. But I have good news when I lay this out for you later on. Or maybe I'm just laying it out for me and y'all understand it. But I'm sorry. It was confusing to me. And it turns out, as I was reading, Jennifer Oliver O'Connell, if you don't follow her, As the Girl Turns, she's amazing. As she laid it out, I was like, oh, thank God. Everybody's confused. Most specifically, the district court or the court, but not the Supremes. Anyway, we'll get to that later. Okay, that's interesting. So Missouri's right there. And then what's happening in okay, well, we're talking about the DHS later this
Yeah.
morning. Clashes erupt at Newark Ice Center. Is that the same place where they cheered the guys leaving? Like, yay! And it turns out that these Hispanic gentlemen actually worked there.
Wait, really?
Yes, and the
That's
people
funny.
thought that they were detainees being let go.
How racist.
Come on.
Yeah, they're having riots, it looks like.
Ridiculous. What else you got? Anything that caught your eye?
I saw Jared. So yesterday when I checked this news tab on my X a good bit. Yesterday the top story was Jared Hudson's clip from the forum.
Stop it.
Yeah. Colin Rugg was the national account that tweeted it. We can check real quick at how many views it has.
Wow.
Let's see. Let's scroll down. Yep. Former Navy SEAL. It's his Taliban clip.
Okay, yes.
He's got 459,000 views.
Okay.
But yeah, this was a top at the news on my X yesterday. It's kind of funny because we were there.
We were there. We heard it.
Yeah.
All right. A lot to get to when we get back, starting with a montage and good discussions, and then John Wahl at 11:30. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. I'm Amy Beth Shaver with Allison Sinclair, and we are joined by Admiral Brian Christine, who is the Assistant Secretary for Health at HHS. And it is a thrill and it is an honor, sir, to have you here. Thank you.
Oh, it's a privilege to be here. It is so fun to have come back home to Sweet Home, Alabama, to come see my family and to do this, to work with y'all, to do this podcast, to help get the messaging out that we need to, so the American people know the good things that we're doing in Washington, the good things that Secretary Kennedy and President Trump are doing. And so as we start off, I have to give a shout out, obviously, to our president and to Secretary Kennedy, because they are working so hard to make this country healthier than she's ever been, to make Americans stronger than we've ever been, to make America great again. So thanks for the opportunity.
So before we jump into those values issues and talking about making our country healthy again, which is such a relief, could you tell those who may not know you or have heard about you, because you are a legend, a little bit about your background?
Sure.
As we jump in.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was born, my father was in the Army. I was born in what used to be West Germany. Now, if you're old enough like me, you remember that one time there was an East and a West Germany during the Cold War. My father was a tanker. In other words, he was in armor in the Army, tanks. And we had a lot of armor assets deployed along the East-West border during that time. I was born in 1963, at really the height of the Cold War. So I was born in West Germany. My father ultimately went Special Forces. In his second tour of Vietnam, he was really severely injured, lost an arm and a leg, got out of the military. We ultimately settled in Augusta, Georgia, had some family there. I went to medical school at Emory in Atlanta, and then I came over to UAB for my residency. And that's how I got to Birmingham. I did my residency in urologic surgery, completed my residency, and then I joined a urology group here in Birmingham. And I practiced with that group for 24, 25 years, really subspecializing in men's health. That was kind of my gig. Then I got the call for the nomination to be the Assistant Secretary for Health from President Trump. Went through the confirmation process. Ultimately was confirmed by the Senate. I was confirmed into this position last November, and here you are. So now I'm in Washington as the Assistant Secretary for Health.
Were you expecting that call? I mean, how does this happen?
Yeah,
you're just like
that's a great
Brian
question.
Christine in Birmingham, Alabama, and you get a call that you're the next Rachel Levine. What's her boy name?
Richard.
Richard Levine.
Richard
Levine.
You're
That's exactly
Richard.
right.
Yeah.
Yes, I am President Trump upgrade from Richard Levine.
We would say
there
so.
We're very grateful
Yes,
for you.
Yeah, exactly. And I really think, listen, I think one of the reasons that President Trump nominated me and that Secretary Kennedy wanted me in the position is because I practiced medicine on the front lines. I was kind of a Main Street doctor. And I think they liked the idea of having someone who really understood medical care and delivery from a Main Street level. Personally, I think also one of the reasons that President Trump wanted me in this position, because there's really not another visual that shows the difference between the horrible Biden administration and the really righteous and good Trump administration, and the fact that you have me in the same position as Levine. I'm a man who wears men's clothing, and that really says all you need to know about the last administration and this administration. For sure.
I always thought he could have done a better job, like zhuzhing it up a little bit. Like it was like he put on some earrings and a dress, and that was it. Like, but we can work a little harder. But I think America, the juxtaposition is overwhelming from what y'all are doing versus what he was doing.
Well, no, exactly. When you look at Levine, I mean, again, his agenda was no question about it. The transgender and minors agenda was so important for him. All he wanted to do was to tell little boys they could be little girls, little girls they could be little boys, and then recommend castrating surgeries, castrating chemicals, hormones, and do irreversible harm to these kids. So if you go back and look at what he talked about, mostly that was it. I mean, Levine advocated for removing any kind of age restriction on transgender treatment in kids. He advocated for those sex-rejecting surgeries. That's what we call them. People say transgender surgery. No, in this administration, we talk about sex-rejecting surgeries and procedures because that's what they are. And that was his big focus, right? I personally believe he was in that position as a statement. I personally believe he was in that position to be an eyepiece, not because he really cared about the health of the country. So I'm really happy to be in this position to be able to reverse and to right so many of the wrongs that the last administration and Levine, perpetrated on the country.
So in this position, you're able to do a lot of good. Could you talk to us about your roles and responsibilities?
Sure. As the Assistant Secretary for Health, you have kind of a 3-level role. One is to help form healthcare policy, to work across the different divisions of the Department of Health and Human Services, to work with the
JP, do you know what my daughter just texted me? Well, one of my daughters just texted.
What?
She's the other one that has the chickens that miraculously stay alive, even though they also have dogs. She said, that's why I gave the more ugly chickens to you in case this happens.
That's smart.
I see what you did there, Emmy. You know what? There was one chicken that was really ugly, but I loved him, and she's dead. But now that makes sense, Emmy.
What makes an ugly chicken?
Well,
They're just not good to look at.
Well, listen, I know that we all think our babies are pretty when they're born, but most people think they look like aliens. But sometimes, as in the case, where there's children that are just beautiful when they're little, like they just are pretty. It's kind of like that with chickens. Same thing with puppies. Some puppies have to grow into their nose. They have to grow into their ears. And they're not cute yet. And then you get to 6 months out and you're like, oh, what a darling puppy. It's that way with chickens.
I see.
And so this one was becoming cuter, but it still looked like a little bit of a chicken hawk. So now I see what she did there. All right. Well, I'm going to buy my own chickens next time, Emmy. But it's time now for the montage.
Black or News.
Fox News alert, we just carried out a new wave of strikes in Iran. The Pentagon confirming to Fox that U.S. forces struck 4 Iranian drones posing a threat to the Strait. CENTCOM also bombing an Iranian military site that was seconds away from launching a 5th drone. We're told these strikes were purely defensive and intended to maintain the ceasefire, quote unquote.
We are currently, which we're not initiate yet, but we're currently drawing up plans to say, listen, in these sanctuary cities where the local radical left Democrats aren't allowing us to do our job and enforce federal laws, then we shouldn't be processing international flights into their cities either, because they don't want us to enforce immigration but they want us to process immigration at their facilities. Nothing about that makes sense to me.
$40 million worth of gold bars in his home. If you're wondering how many gold bars that is, the court document says it's about 308. What my team here at NBC News, Dan DeLuce and Gary Grumbach, and I found is that that man was not just an employee of any agency. He was a high-level official with top secret clearance in the CIA. And
they put me in touch with various law enforcement agents. We had a meeting last week with my entire data set team and multiple law enforcement agencies, and we started sharing data. I gave them 90 pages of IP addresses, all over the place, all around the world, hitting these locations. You see where I'm going with this? I'm not okay with this. And I found it in Alberta, Canada, too. So it's there's a war going on, I guess a PR war, or whatever you want to call it.
That's an interesting story that we didn't get into yesterday, and maybe you've seen it, but that was Mr. Wonderful talking about Arabella advisors and bots, and it's a very interesting conversation we'll dip into. I need to go grab the article. But did you think that I had never heard anything about that? I didn't know until I saw him discussing it.
Not me neither. And the full clip was too long to include, but yeah, he essentially talked about IP addresses from China kind of hitting data centers and others. It's a real thing.
It is a real thing. I'm putting Mr. Wonderful in. Okay, so up first, let's discuss the U.S. and Iran. And at first blush, if you just hear about it, you're like, great, we're still fighting. But the reason that the U.S., it is my understanding, the reason they struck down attack drones is that the IRGC was caught laying mines in the Strait of Hormuz.
Yeah.
And we're back to Iran is not going to easily surrender. They're just not. And so if they're going to break that and then try to gaslight us and tell us that we did it because you guys did it. And you are getting ready to launch another drone. So I don't know how you deal with people who have no intention of sticking to a ceasefire. I know they say again, but every day it's like we're all, are we there yet? Almost. We're just a little longer. I know we have to deal with them, but I genuinely don't know how you deal with a people group that is not interested in actually abiding by any sort of terms that are set and agreed upon.
Yeah. Well, reported this morning, this is from Axios, reportedly the U.S. and Iran are closing to sign a 60-day memorandum of understanding to extend the ceasefire and framework for a broader deal. Some of the key elements per Axios: the Strait of Hormuz reopened for unrestricted shipping. Iran clears mines and no tolls. Iran commits to never pursuing nuclear weapons, plus negotiations on uranium stockpile removal. U.S. open to discussing sanctions relief and releasing frozen Iranian assets, and could be extended by mutual consent. So that is the report of a potential 60-day MOU for a broader deal to extend the ceasefire. So that's the latest. And yeah, those strikes happened late last night of Iran claiming that the U.S. violated the ceasefire for attacking ships laying mines, and then they started shooting at Kuwait and others, and then the U.S. then started to attack, I don't know if it was ships or areas where drones were being shipped off from. But yeah, so we'll see if this deal, this MOU gets signed to or not, but that's the latest on that.
I like the MOU.
Yeah, MOU.
That was good. That was good, JP. The memorandum of understanding is kind of like the memorandum of understanding all parents have with their children when they put them to bed at around age 3. And the understanding is I'm going to put you in bed and you're going to stay there until, of course, they hear mom and dad and other siblings talking, maybe lemonade, whatever. It drove me crazy when I heard my brother up with my mom and dad because I had to go to bed early because I didn't obey.
You weren't obeying?
Well, it was very rare. I am a first. No, I'm kidding. But that to me is what this is like, is that memorandum of understanding is like a childhood parent understanding, but who's going to break it first? Usually the child. And then you got to go put them back. Like, no, really, stay here this time. And then they come back out again. And I know you have to discipline them, but to me, that's what this is. I genuinely hope that we can come to terms and that they'll actually follow through. We're willing to follow through. The question is, will they follow through with this MOU? That feels very fancy.
MOU.
Kind of want to finish it out with MOUSE. Anywho.
My nephew will not stop watching that show.
Oh, my granddaughter loves Minnie Mouse. She loves her.
I mean, I watched Mickey Mouse Clubhouse growing up, but even the theme song got too much for me as a kid.
Yeah. Oh, agree. Hey, I'm so old. We had I was just past the Annette Funicello version, but the original Mickey Mouse Club with live people. Oh. And at the end, all the kids would sing MOUSE.
It's kind of scary.
Yeah. Yeah. It hurts a little bit. So, all right, JP. Next on the list, I want to go here first before we talk about Mark Wayne Mullen. But this idea, just back for a second on the Arabella Advisors. Here's the deal. And this is what I had pulled up. But Arabella Advisors, this is why this matters. It does have to do with data centers. But it's now operating as Sunflower Services, and it's under investigation, and it leads back to the CCP, the Communist Chinese Party. Or Chinese Communist Party, whatever.
Same thing.
MOU, CCP.
That was funny.
A closer look at attacks on a Utah data center project has uncovered something much larger, which is what Mr. Wonderful Kevin O'Leary was talking about. He says, and in that longer clip, he gets to this, an extensive investigation involving data scientists, IP tracking, IRS filings, and funding records. This is the scary part. Revealed what appears to be a coordinated campaign targeting energy and data center infrastructure. Now, why in the world does that matter to us if this is somewhere else? Well, what came up Monday night, JP, at Public Service Commission Place 2 Forum?
Data centers.
So it feels like it's far out there, but it's right here at home. I think 2 more had been voted upon down in that Public Service Place 3 district. So data centers are a thing. And it seems that the Chinese Communist Party is once again figuring out ways to just insinuate themselves in everybody else's business by targeting energy and data center infrastructure. That is a big deal. They don't care about stealing. They'll get whatever information they want to get whenever they feel like it. So this is why it matters. We need to pay attention. I hope we will. I didn't really pay attention to data centers other than I think they're ugly. And why are we building so many of them? But now I am intrigued. What do you think?
I'm too. I agree with you. I haven't thought much about data centers until I realized they're clearing out like rural forests and like the west.
Did you say forests?
Forests, rural forests in in Arizona and Nevada and others. I mean, there's not a lot of forests there, but and just for these mega data centers, like that can't be good.
No, can't be good.
Especially in China trying to steal them.
I mean, it's
steal the data from them.
They are. It's and at the end of this clip that Kevin O'Leary's on, it says this is about who may be influencing critical infrastructure and development across the country and why. So stay tuned. Maybe that is the area that you're already interested in. There's a lot of you from Huntsville. You are naturally inclined in that direction. What do you guys hear about this? Because until yesterday, I was ignorant.
Yeah, me too.
So just a little info about something we don't normally cover, but I do believe it's worth our time to reconsider paying attention. So it's all around us. Sometimes it feels like a flood, but it still means we got to do our job and pay attention. So
can we talk about this former CIA guy that stole $40 million in gold bars? I'm reading more of the story now, and it's getting crazier by the sentence that I read.
Yes. Okay, let's do it because let me grab the article. Are you looking on Gateway?
I'm on Fox right now.
Okay. All right. Hey, between both of these articles, it's really good. This is an insane story. This guy, David Rush, his home was raided just 4 days ago, apparently. They seized 300 gold bars, $40 million, along with $2 million in cash and 35 luxury watches, mostly Rolexes. Anyway, pause. What else do you have from that story? Because I can't believe that this man who held a management position at the agency is now facing charges of criminal theft of public money. I'll say.
Yeah. Well, he was arrested on May 19th and is facing federal charges, but he allegedly swindled the government out of tens of millions of dollars while posing as a highly decorated Navy Reserve captain and Air Force test pilot. He held a senior position with the CIA until recently. According to unsealed criminal complaint and FBI affidavit, the grift unraveled after Rush made multiple requests to his agency between November 2025 and March 2026 for a, quote, significant quantity of foreign currency and tens of millions of dollars in gold bars. Rush claimed the payout was strictly for work-related expenses, but an FBI search of his home on May 18th turned up roughly 303 1-kilogram gold bars, $2 million in U.S. currency, and dozens of luxury watches, many of which were Rolexes, like you said. But he swindled the government out of this. It says, in applications for his high-level job, Rush claimed he was a graduate of the U.S. Air Force Test Pilot School and the current director of tests for a 145-person 18-aircraft Joint Army-Navy Weapons Test Organization. However, military records show Rush was never a pilot and held no FAA licenses. He actually duties in the Navy, or his actual duties in the Navy included working as an information systems technician.
I mean,
he also faked his educational credentials and all of that.
I mean, it is insane. I'm thinking of the movie Catch Me If You Can.
Yeah.
That's this. Have you seen any pictures of this guy?
No.
I really want to see what he looks like. Because I don't understand how somebody like this can fake so much and get away with this. But then, of course, my cynical brain thinks, well, oh my gosh, are there other people like this? I'm sure they exist.
I'm sure there are.
But this is a lot.
I've got a mugshot of him.
Oh, hold on. Let me go back to StreamYard. Now let's just check out this dude.
Let's see. Oh, it's a WebP. I can't put up a WebP.
Okay.
Here, I'll find a picture I can put up.
Okay.
Or I can share my screen, one or the other.
Okay.
Okay, I found one I can put up. Give me 1 second.
All right.
This here, let's see. Here's
first word that comes to your mind when you see him.
maniacal.
Schmuck.
Yeah, schmuck. That's another good one.
Both maniacal schmuck.
That's impressive though. Like obviously very illegal and wrong, but that fact he was able to pull off that is kind of crazy.
Would your dad say that's the definition of what type of personality trait?
Sociopath, probably.
Probably a sociopath. Okay.
Which is actually, apparently that's what the CIA, I mean, I don't think he did hold a office in the CIA, but apparently that's what the CIA looks for. It's people, not sociopaths.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Why?
I heard John Kiriakou talk about this.
Oh, I love that guy.
He said they don't look for sociopaths. They look for people with sociopathic tendencies to be in the CIA.
Why?
He told a story about when he was in a class or something for the CIA, and the teacher was like, okay, say you're in a foreign nation and you're working with this source and you're trying to steal information via, this source, and you think it's going well, but things kind of stifle and slow down and aren't going as well as you'd like. What would be your next course of action? And, one person in the class, he said, was like, well, maybe I try to get to his wife. Maybe I get a fake wife and see if that they can get friends or become friends. And maybe I can get access to his wife. And somebody else said, well, maybe I just double down, try harder, keep going. And then John said, he raised his hand. He goes, you break into the embassy and you just steal it. And the teacher goes, That's exactly what you do.
Wow.
So they want somebody who doesn't think within the code, because as a CIA officer, your job is to spy and break another country's law, like stealing their information. So they want people that not full-fledged sociopaths and have no conscience, but don't think within the realms of boundaries and rules. Yeah, just steal it. So that's but that kind of tracks. Oh no, that guy kind of gives off the look.
He absolutely gives off the look of a sociopath. I'm going to stop right there.
That's so much money though. And then also when I heard about gold bars, you know what I thought?
Fort Knox?
Yes. Whatever happened to auditing Fort Knox?
JP, I saw that on Twix last night when I saw the story. And I can't remember if Eric Erickson or somebody like that said, it is time for an audit of Fort Knox, because it was in the news and then it wasn't. But of course, our listeners are brilliant and they pay attention to these patterns as well. Something's in the news and then it disappears. And you're like, wait, what were we not supposed to see? Because you made that go away. I don't know, but I say we go and charge on Fort Knox and use some of these sociopaths to just break in, because I don't know that anything's left at Fort Knox. How do we know? Is anything there anymore?
Who knows? It kind of went kaputs like Doge did altogether.
Yeah. It's weird.
That's very strange.
So weird. All right.
We got about 2 minutes left here.
All right. Construction for the UFC event at the White House. Give us an update.
That's a good
Mr. MMA.
That's a good way to end the segment here. So they've I don't know if you've seen pictures of what this event is going to look like.
No. I can't even imagine.
Here, well, I'm gonna pull up a picture here of what the event's gonna look like, and then I'll pull up what the construction currently looks like. It's kind of crazy. So, for those who don't know, I think it's the weekend before July 4th this year. They're not doing it on July 4th for some reason. They're having a UFC event there, and it will be literally on the south lawn of the White House. So, this is what it's going to look like.
What? That's insane. How many seats?
That's a great question. Now, I think it's not open to the public. I think it's very select, ticket givers.
Okay.
But I think they're allegedly having a party on the north lawn of 100-something thousand seats and a big screen or something. But that's what it's supposed to look like. This is the current construction.
Oh, holy cow. That's incredible.
It's happening.
Wow, it's happening. I mean, and if we get our knickers in a twist, let's just think we're a nation who once dueled. So, calm down, Karen. Calm down, Chad.
It's just bizarre or surreal. I think surreal is a better word.
It's surreal. Yeah. We're gonna have a UFC match.
That's
okay.
So sick.
Okay. People like it. It's very popular.
This is where my two worlds merge.
Why not? Why not?
I think
this
it's
is what
cool.
I say.
Apparently, they're going to be walking out of the Oval Office and warming up, hitting pads in the Oval Office. I don't know.
Kidding.
That's what Dana White said. So we'll see.
You're going to have to give us a play-by-play. I don't like fighting.
You would love it. You need to watch.
You think I would watch it?
I think if you got into it.
What do you guys think about this UFC thing and fighting in general? Are you a fan? I'd love to know your thoughts. All right, when we come back in the 11 o'clock hour, we're plunging. We're talking to John Wahl and finishing up some of the news. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back.
And NIH and FDA and work with HHS leadership to help form healthcare policy. So we help form the policy. We help implement that policy. There's also a communication role, which really appeals to me, in that we help to communicate the policy to healthcare establishments, healthcare providers, and to the country at large. Okay, the Surgeon General falls under the Assistant Secretary for Health. So when we have our new Surgeon General in, and I'm happy to say that Dr. Casey Means will be having her hearing before the Senate on the 25th of this month, I believe. She'll be an amazing Surgeon General. We're going to work so well together. But together, we'll be advancing the message of the Department of Health and Human Services and President Trump to the American people. So there's that communication aspect to the role. And then also, the Assistant Secretary for Health can serve as a civilian, or they can do as I did, which is request commission from the president. So I have been commissioned as the senior admiral at the Public Health Service. specifically the Commission Corps. So you have the U.S. Public Health Service, and then you have something called the Commission Corps, and these are commissioned officers. I'm a 4-star admiral. I lead the Commission Corps. And so one of the other roles I have is as a flag officer and admiral is to lead the Commission Corps of the Public Health Service. And that's about 5,400 doctors, nurses, pharmacists, therapists. Believe it or not, we've got a few veterinarians in there as well,
Wow.
dentists, dermatologists. We are Secretary Kennedy's tip of the spear strike force for public health initiatives. And it's really a privilege to wear this uniform. It's a privilege to receive the salutes that I receive from other members of other uniformed services and my own officers. To wear this uniform is a privilege, but that's a big part of what I do, is to lead the Commission Corps, because we really are the edge of the knife, the tip of the spear for public health in the United States. And I have officers deployed other parts of the world as well, primarily in the U.S. We work at Guantanamo Bay, for instance. We work with ICE agencies. We work with DHS. We supply doctors and nurses to the Indian Health Service, which is a big role. We have officers that work at FDA, work at CDC. They're out in community health centers. So we're all over the place, but that's part of my role as well.
Wow.
That's a lot of people.
It's a lot of
I had
people.
no idea.
It's a lot of people. And these officers, these are good men and women. These are good men and women who want to serve, who care about this country. And one of the things I have been told by officer after officer is they said, we are so happy that we have a new Assistant Secretary for Health. We're demoralized by our prior Assistant Secretary because we knew he didn't really care about us. He put the uniform on as a political stunt. Brian, you wear the uniform because you care about the country and you want to serve the President and the Secretary.
So going into this role, like you're just kind of starting. If now, and hopefully we'll do an interview as you're leaving and we can reassess, but give us your top 3, like these are the things that I definitely want to get done while I'm here. What would those be?
Yeah, and so my agenda is, of course, Secretary Kennedy's agenda and the President's agenda. We all work for the President. He's the Commander-in-Chief. I work with Secretary Kennedy as we both serve the President and serve the people. And so the things that are really important to us at the Department of Health and Human Services, we know that affordability of health care, affordability of drugs, making sure we have good health care delivered to everybody, whether it be in a city or in these rural environments, that is something incredibly important to the President and the Secretary and myself. Also, we have our values issues. In other words, and we can talk about this, right to life issues, respect for the dignity of every man, woman, and child in this country. That's incredibly important to us. Taking care of men, taking care of women, that's important. So affordability, these values issues, and doing everything so different from the last administration and the last Department of Health and Human Services. We absolutely are guided by science. That's something that Secretary Kennedy has said again and again. We are guided by gold standard science, and we use that science to form policy and to do things that are going to make America healthier than she's ever been.
Okay, but Dr. Fauci says he is science. So are we Dr. Fauci science, or are we, like, how do you...
Are we science?
We are science. We are science. Listen, people can think what they want about Dr. Fauci. I prefer not to think about Dr. Fauci. I don't have much regard or respect for that individual. But who I do have regard and respect for are RFK, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Jay Bhattacharya, Dr. Bhattacharya, who was so incredibly strong during the COVID pandemic. He leads the NIH, the National Institutes of Health. I have respect for Dr. Oz, Mehmet Oz, who heads up CMS, Medicare and Medicaid. He is amazingly brilliant, amazingly committed to this country. We have Marty McCary, who is out at FDA. Marty also cares deeply. We don't have a CDC director right now. The interim director is a man named Jim O'Neill. Jim is also the deputy secretary at HHS, incredibly smart, incredibly strong, committed to life, committed to science. So those are the people I think about. I don't worry about Anthony Fauci. I don't want to think about Anthony Fauci. He did enough harm to this country. Yeah. I think about President Trump and our team now at HHS because we're doing amazing things.
You clearly are. So could we jump in then to those values issues that you've mentioned? Top of the list, right to life.
Yes.
And underneath that would be people's concern about mifepristone.
Sure.
Could you talk to us about that? Hello, and welcome back. I am Amy Beth Shaver with JP. And we are heading into the last hour of the day. And we're going to talk about the maps in districts, JP. We're going to plunge.
It's been a while since we've played our 8-second long flush.
I love the non-HE flush. It's my favorite. Kind of like toilets that are too short and you're like, these are nice and old. I like it. But that's it's a great sound. It's the sound that's paid for my life, JP.
Yes, literally.
So I can't, my whole life. So for people that are like, oh my goodness. Okay, well, that's my life. And I love it. I wouldn't have it any other way. So here are the details. Chris and I are talking. We've talked back and forth. JP, we've talked with Allison. Like we've talked and talked and talked. But what in the world, how do we even get districts in the first place? Because that matters as the foundation for what's going on right now. And so may I, sir, ask you a few questions? Maybe you have the answers. Maybe you do not. And we'll explore together.
I think this is worth sitting back with the mic in my lap.
I like it. You should do that. I like that. Someday we're going to have comfy chairs and we're going to be able to put our feet up and just chill. For now, though, JP with the mic in his hands. All right, number 1. Point 1. How are congressional districts determined, JP?
Population? In theory?
Close. In theory. Because, I wanted to make sure I got this right.
Well, population and racial population. Is it a mix of them both?
Well, what it is congressional districts are determined through a 2-step process: apportionment and redistricting, which adjust boundaries every 10 years based on the decennial U.S. Census to ensure each district represents roughly the same number of people. JP, do you know how many people that is?
No, I do not.
You might have to ask Dr. Google.
Let me see.
It's about, if you're talking congressional districts, about 700,000.
Population per congressional district?
Per congressional district. Maybe less than that, but hit me up with that number.
Population per congressional district.
Yeah.
It says the average population per U.S. congressional district is approximately 784,000.
Yes, I like it when I get things right.
Based on the 2020 U.S. Census.
Okay. So that's what we're dealing with. And prior to, I would say 50 years ago, maybe longer, our districts were drawn based like not just on population, but it was also more regional. It was the Gulf region. It was the Wiregrass. It was the Black Belt. And when I say Black Belt, originally it meant the rich, loamy soil in that area of the state. Great growing country. It switched though, and it also came to double entendre theater represent the large Black population in that area as well. So apportionment means, I'm defining terms. This is super basic, but enough people ask questions that we need to be basic because I need the lesson. Apportionment means 435 seats in the U.S. House are divided up among the 50 states based on population. If a population grows, the seat may be gained. If it shrinks, it's going to lose a seat. That's how it goes. Redistricting, once the state knows how many congressional seats it has to redraw its internal geographic boundaries to account for population shifts. That makes sense, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. In most states, drawing the lines, the state legislature is responsible for drawing and voting on the new maps. Seems simple enough. We know that because we've witnessed it. However, several states utilize independent or bipartisan redistricting commissioners to remove the line drawing from legislators and self-interested politicians. That's from Dr. Google. I didn't say that. Google said that. And then the legal constraint is that one person, one vote legal standards been established by the Supreme Court. So all districts within a state must be nearly equal in population, and maps must also comply with the Federal Voting Rights Act, which prohibits, this is so funny, this is an interesting statement, JP. Tell me what this means to you, which prohibits drawing lines that intentionally dilute the power of minority populations. See, like,
That means draw lines that don't have majority black citizens in the districts. Draw lines that don't guarantee a black representative.
or do you think it could mean they don't want to dilute the voting power of minority populations, so they are going to draw certain districts?
Yeah.
So interesting, super basic. Like, it's literally really super basic, but we need to know the basics because Alabama can't quite get this right. Can we?
No, not quite.
To me, and see if I'm wrong here, JP, see if you agree with this assessment. But as I'm reading this article in Red State about Alabama's redistricting battle being back at SCOTUS with a layup from the DOJ's Civil Rights Division, it seems to me that it's like a woman who can't make up her mind about where she wants to eat. It's not SCOTUS, it's the lower court 3-judge panel. It's these people who can't quite make up their mind because they're saying one thing and then they're like, oh, but this, oh, but this. Or like a man who's playing golf. I'm sorry, it's just the way it is. And you're standing over your bag and you're like, am I going to, like, do I want to chip or putt? Like, is it time? What do I do?
Texas wedge it.
That's what this is to me. And I felt silly because I was so confused. I thought it was cut and dry. Did you think it was cut and dry?
Yeah. I thought, well, I knew there was a little bit of nuance to it, but I thought it was overall pretty cut and dry.
Same.
Yeah. I didn't think there was up to much interpretation.
Okay. So this week you saw that SCOTUS vacated the district court decision in early May. All right. We know that. Tuesday, the same 3-judge panel, once again, this is driving me nuts. Help us understand this, JP. They blocked the use of the 2023 map on the same basis that the maps are deliberately discriminatory and violate Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. The district court panel claims that they are striving to prevent confusion among the voters. However, see if you agree with this statement, their refusal to apply the latest SCOTUS ruling to determine the case has bred more confusion.
Yep.
Okay. When I read that, I thought, oh, thank God. I thought it was me.
No, they are just breeding more confusion.
Okay. So that makes me feel a lot better. So Alabama Solicitor General Barrett Bowdry urged the court to freeze the lower court's ruling and allow it to use the 2023 map. That's where trouble happened. I'm just skimming through this article. But Bowdry continued that Calais vindicated Alabama's position on the lawfulness. Yet, the district court decided in 1 week that Calais changed nothing. And if you're thinking that was brave of this district court, did you think that? You would be correct. And I'm thinking, oh, all those years ago when the phrase activist judges?
Yeah.
Am I the only one that this is running through my mind?
No. 100% activist judges.
Okay.
To go against what the Supreme Court itself ruled. Like the highest court of the land said it, and yet they're still bucking the system.
Okay, that make like increasingly feeling validated.
Yes. Yeah.
Like they are women who do not know where they want to go eat, but they're starving.
Yeah. Well, I'll let you continue. Yeah.
Worse, Bowdry concluded the district court's conclusion that the state intentionally violated the Constitution rests on the idea that Alabama intentionally, this is crazy, intentionally discriminated by refusing to intentionally discriminate. If that sounds crazy to you, it's because it is. Like Boundary is correct. Boundary is basically, Jennifer O'Connell writes, begging the court to make this make sense. And it does make little sense, except, and this is where the activism comes in, and I wonder if you feel the same way, except as a tactic to prevent the August 11th special election from moving forward. Do you agree with that? Does that make sense to you?
It makes sense. Yeah. I think so. Like that's a way for the panel to obstruct, you mean?
Mhm.
To keep
Yep,
it the
yep.
5-2 up until the August 11th.
Yep.
Yeah. And Kay Ivey actually, I think, pushed back the deadline for the August 11th election today. So I don't know if it's going to work or not, but I do think that's an angle to it. Yeah.
So the deal is, and here's, I think, the crux of it is that the district court paid lip service to the obligations to disentangle race and politics, and to begin with the presumption that the legislature acted in good faith. But what happened is it looks like not only the district court didn't do that, but now that 3-judge panel didn't do it either. They were making assumptions. And they were assuming the worst of what the legislature drew and was approved, even though it turned out that was discriminatory. They're doing it again, this 3-judge panel. They're assuming that our legislature acted in bad faith. That this is how it comes across to me. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes.
Okay.
100%.
Telling you, I had to reread this because it got so confusing. But as she laid it out, I thought, okay, I feel validated. They've made it confusing. It almost seems intentionally so. And then finally, essentially, Dillon and Sawyer, because Harmeet Dillon wrote a brief to go along with it, they surmised that the 3-judge panel disparaged Alabama's good faith intent, twisting it into an effort to be intentionally racist. And for me, this is where it always lands, is they don't seem to want to let our past go. And they're holding it over our heads. Other states are getting the job done. We keep trying to play ball, but it seems that they are the ones who do not want to play ball with us.
Yep.
So what's really going on here? You've given, as Jennifer writes, a very tight window to have an election, even though Kay Ivey's just pushed the date back. That's great. But what else is going on here? Could there be other things? What's the most innocent explanation? What is the most nefarious explanation?
I think the most innocent explanation is the explanation they gave of they being the 3-judge panel, that they didn't want to create any more confusion. They just want to keep the maps as they are. And, we got a primary, we got elections. We just don't want to confuse the voters. Let's just keep the districts as they are. And so I think that's the most innocent explanation. The most nefarious explanation, which I think is the correct explanation, is that activist judges are butthurt and pouty about SCOTUS ruling against them and showing them up. And they just want to obstruct and make the process more difficult and make Alabama jump through another hoop and ladder and appeal to Supreme Court. That's what happened. And activist judges are real, and that's just another example of that, unfortunately. So they're just pouty that Supreme Court did the right thing, and they're just trying to make it even harder. So like arrogant people, like the 3-judge panel, they think they have all the power in the world to virtue signal and go against these racist legislators. So they're just going to make it harder just because they can, even though they can't let go of the past and they don't see it as racist to have racially gerrymandered maps in the first place. Yeah. But I'll add another angle to this. I hate to be that guy, but I got to go there.
Go there.
Of the legislators, because, excuse me, let me raise my chair back up for this one after reclining while you did a fantastic job breaking it down. The legislators, we've been pushing for a 7-0 map since the beginning of this whole ordeal. And the explanation or reasoning we got as to why they couldn't was it'll get shot down. It'll be there'll be more hearings and more this and that. It will make things way, way, way harder. If we just approve a map that's already been drawn, then it's already been drawn and approved, and we can just go with a 6-1 map, and then maybe we'll get to 7-0 eventually. But the 6-1 map has already been drawn and approved, so we'll just go with that, as if like it'll be quicker and more seamless than if we did a 7-0, because the 7-0 would get tossed. Well, the 6-1 got tossed, so we got the same result with a 6-1 as we would have gotten if we did a 7-0. But if this doesn't make sense to you, if you're having trouble understanding it, essentially the Supreme Court was telling Alabama with their ruling, not just the ruling in Louisiana, but approving the motion by Steve Marshall to remove the injunction that wouldn't allow us to redraw until 2030 and kick it back to the 3-judge panel. What the Supreme Court was essentially saying, we're going to give the 3-judge panel the opportunity to do the right thing, but if they don't, we are essentially telling you we will approve it if you appeal it to us. So you're essentially not drawing a map for the 3-judge panel. The legislature was drawing a map for SCOTUS, who's on your side, made that big ruling in Louisiana, removed the injunction. They bent over backwards to help Alabama redraw their maps before the primary. So if you know that you're drawing maps for the Supreme Court, the highest court in the land, who is on your side, why not go all the way and do a 7-0, knowing that it's going to get approved by the Supreme Court? And we go back to the same question of, do they not know that? Are they incompetent? Do they just don't understand it? Or are they lying to you? And are they deliberately not doing it because they don't want to? And so if we're back at the same place that we would have been if we did a 7-0, which is the 3-judge panel throwing it out and then you appeal it to the Supreme Court, then why are we walking into the Supreme Court with a half-cocked measure and not going in full-fledged 7-0 like we could have? That's the frustrating part. And that's a whole nother conversation that we can talk about hypothesis or
hypothetically.
Hypothetically, we could talk about why we think they did that and reasonings. And maybe I'll give you a bone for this, and then you can help me out later with other things, them being Republicans to the Democrats. But that's the angle of like, we got the same result you said a 7-0 would have gotten with a 6-1. So why did we not go 7-0? You know,
part of it, I think those are really good questions, and that is a great breakdown. First. Second, I know you're asking and we're being hypothetical, but now you're making me think that the reason that we've done this, I think I'm tagging on with what you're saying, but I'm adding that there is humanity here, and there is the problem in all this, and it's not a problem. The issue is that there are real people who are going to lose their seats. And there are people with whom our legislators have relationships. That's the hard part, is we do care about each other. Even if this person or that is our friend, we still have to, though, have the responsibility of looking at the districts and what are the results from that district. That's the hard truth about this. And what do we want to happen out of this? So I think there is that relationship issue in a good way that perhaps prevented them from just going straight 7-0. And that's a good thing, but not if you're just looking at principle and you're looking at that district or 2 districts, as a matter of fact. What's going on there? Are they thriving? So that's where we have to go when we're looking at this case, is we were told they were racially gerrymandered. I agree with JP. You go for 7-0 because you knew this is where it was always going to go. But for the people who do have relationships, they think, well, we're going to go for a 6-1. Which, if that's what we get, that's what we get. But I think they're doing it in part because they know people will lose their seat. But we've got to be able to separate the relationship we have with the results that we want as a state. And not just as a state, but things that could be impacted in the U.S. House of Representatives for good or for bad. But I still think we should have done 7-0 from the beginning and we would have saved a lot of time and energy. But no, this 3-judge panel couldn't help themselves, and the district court couldn't help themselves. And this is where, to me, I'm seeing really the impact of activist judges. I don't care who appointed them or how they got their seat, Republican or Democrat. That's just the way it appears to me. And when I was on Twitter last night, Alabama, and even a little bit this morning, Alabama was trending. People are paying attention to what's going on here. But for the citizens of Alabama are like, can we just not get this over with like all the other states? Why are we the one with the hang up? Why are we not the one to go first? And I appreciate the comments that have been made by our Speaker of the House. I appreciate the comments our governor's made and other elected officials. We appreciate that, truly. But while the world is watching Alabama right now, let's just break free and do the right thing and hope that that happens. I'm very glad Clarence Thomas has purview over our districts and over the 3-judge panel. That's the part that I think, thank God, he's involved.
Yeah, I agree. And I'll add one more element to this of people who don't understand why this is important. You're essentially, with the margins so thin right now in the House of Representatives, I mean, we own all chambers of Congress, but by kind of the skin of our teeth. So every seat matters, especially with the last 2 years of Trump's presidency. What you're essentially saying is that you're willing to send another Democrat to Congress who believes everything against Alabama's values and would obstruct and continue to obstruct President Trump's agenda, instead of just sending 7 straight Republicans from Alabama up there. You're willingly giving a seat to the Democrats in DC. You're willingly giving that up for what? Because they're your friend, or you want to protect them, or, hey, I'll give them this and they'll give me this later. That's crap. And I'm not making allegations. I'm sure that is going on, because the more I learn about politics, that seems to be how everything is. I'll give you this and you give me that later. But you're willingly giving a seat to the Democrats in D.C. with a congressional member. And that gives a window to, I mean, who knows what happens nationwide in the midterms? There could be a massive blue wave and we lose some majority. Like, every seat matters in terms of, if you're really a conservative and you're really a Republican and you want to help President Trump out, and you're choosing and you're opting to give a seat to the Democrats. And you can say, oh, we're taking a seat away because we're going from 5-2 to 6-1. But yeah, you could have sent 7 straight and you opted to send 6. So you willingly gave the Democrats an extra seat in DC. That's why it matters. And that's why it's so important. It has national implications.
And to add on to what you're saying, because you're exactly right, and I'm so glad you went there, that is why it matters. You need only look over at Texas and the Ken Paxton, James Talrico race. That is a big deal. Everybody's going to be watching that as well. They're watching Alabama and they're watching Texas. The reason why we need to send every single Republican that we can, for example, is because James Talrico's church library features LGBTQ propaganda for children, including pornographic material. That is who the Democrats are. That is what they believe. And they are unwilling to divorce themselves from things that are absolutely an anathema to Republican values, to freedom and flourishing. That is why all of this matters.
That's a great word, anathema. What does that even mean?
Opposite. It like crashes into completely opposite, not even in the same realm of possibility. That's my addition.
And that wasn't even the word of the day.
Oh, that was because Starbucks.
Yeah, for free.
It's for free. All right, you guys, our friend John Wahl on the other side. We'll be back.
Yeah, I think, I'm 62 years old, turned 62 in December. This is the most pro-life administration that I've ever seen in my 6 decades plus of life. There's no question about it. The most pro-life administration that I've ever seen. I think the administration that is friendliest to religion and faith that I've ever seen. And President Trump has demonstrated that again and again. We stand for life. We stand for the fact that we know that life begins at conception. We respect life. Until life's natural end, we respect the dignity of the person. We want to make sure that we stand with individuals who believe those same things, and we do. The recent March for Life, you saw that Vice President Vance address the country. The next day, there was a breakfast that was basically for all of the youth, the young men and women who'd come into this country come into the city from across the country. There was a breakfast that morning. Jim O'Neill, the deputy secretary, and myself, we addressed those students, and there were over 2,000 people there. And we talked about the fact, what we're doing for life, the fact that we know little boys are little boys and little girls are little girls, the fact that we know life begins at conception, the fact that we are doing things like, for instance, through my office, the Office of the Assistant Secretary for Health, we administer the Title X funds. So let me tell you, so just recently, because of our oversight, directed by Secretary Kennedy, our oversight over Title X funds, $2.3 million of grants that had been given before us had to be returned by Planned Parenthood. $2.3 million that will no longer go to killing children, $2.3 million that will no longer go to lying to women. Because of our oversight, they gave that money back, which is a huge victory, absolutely. We make sure that we're enforcing the Hyde Amendment. President Trump, Secretary Kennedy, and myself, we are strong for this. No federal dollars are going to go toward abortion or procuring abortion services. We are strong with the Hyde Amendment, and we are making sure the Hyde Amendment is being enforced, unlike the last administration. Yes. We have made sure that monies, that when you have youth, children or youths, young girls who are taken in custody coming across the border or something, that federal dollars cannot go to providing abortion services, because that was going on in the last administration. Just totally disregarding the Hyde Amendment. We stand strong. That's no longer happening. So for those right-to-life issues, we've been incredibly strong about that, and we're very vocal about that. Again, one of the things that impresses me most about Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and he's always been this way, he really realizes that God has given an inherent dignity to every man, woman, and child, and we respect that dignity.
As an adopted person, and I know as an adoptive mother, we are so thankful for those policies. And as women who've lived through the nonsense, that the lies that have been heaped upon us, that you have to kill your child to have a life.
That's right.
We're very grateful for your stand in that regard.
It's again, all of this is a privilege, but we have to do it for the country. We have to do, and we have to remember too that all of the wins that we have in this administration and this Department of Health and Human Services, it only takes one election cycle for things to reverse. And so we can talk about this more later, but it's incredibly important for us as conservatives, for us as people of faith, to be motivated to vote in November, to get out, support those candidates who stand with President Trump and his agenda. It's going to be more important than it's ever been. I know every election it's like, this is the most important. So I'm not going to use that hyperbole, but this is an incredibly important election in November. So I want all of the people, all of the men and women who watch this podcast, who listen to this podcast, and there are so many, I want them all to know, tell your friends, tell your families, we've got to be out there supporting candidates in congressional districts and Senate races that support the president in November.
You posted recently about gender affirming care, gender dysphoria, and kind of your work, and you just mentioned, right to life. That I would agree that is a life issue. Were you surprised when the American Medical Association came out recently and said that gender affirming care, genital mutilation, all that should be put off till adulthood? And do you think that we're maybe turning a corner on all this?
I think that is I'm so glad you asked that question, because yes, so the American Medical Association is certainly backing away from its prior stance. It was the Academy of Plastic Surgeons, I think that's the right name. The Academy of Plastic Surgeons that said, and this is landmark, they said just this past week, that we recommend that we don't do those mutilating surgeries, what we call the sex-rejecting surgeries, on anybody under the age of 19. That is huge. That is huge. And I think we are turning this corner. We can never take our foot off the accelerator, because I like to say that gender theory is like a vampire. It'll come back. You may think you've killed it, but it'll come back in the next hostile administration. So we always have to keep our foot on the accelerator for this, and we are. And I am, and President Trump certainly is. But yeah, I hope that we've turned a corner. I really do. This really started with, again, science. So we released at HHS, we released something called the Gender Dysphoria Report, and that was back in the fall. We released this report that basically looked at all the science, and we said, no, the wrong way to treat these children is to perform castrating surgeries. The wrong way to treat these children is to use sex-rejecting chemicals and hormones. The right way to treat these children is with compassionate, competent mental health care. Now, personally, as a person of faith, I personally believe that if the child's parents want this, I think pastoral care is incredibly important to support these kids, right? But we initiated that report. The report was released, and then we did something even more. We had what was called the peer review of that report. So we invited scientists, not all of whom were aligned with us, to say, review this report. Tell us what you think. Put your politics aside and go by the science. And they had to say, you're right. The science backs up exactly what you're saying about this. So I think things like we're seeing with the plastic surgeons, things like hopefully we're going to be seeing more with the AMA, really the shot across the bow was the gender dysphoria report. Because, again, Secretary Kennedy has always said, we use gold standard science to guide our decisions. That's gold standard science. Those kind of things, sex-rejecting surgeries, horrible chemicals and mutilations, that's not the way to treat these kids. I am not going to take my foot off the accelerator on this because, like I said, it is a vampire. If we don't stake it through the heart and if we don't kill this whole gender theory, it's going to come back in the next hostile administration. No question about it. So we're doing great things with that. And that, as far as values, very important to the president, very important to the vice president, very important to Secretary Kennedy and myself.
Can I ask a follow-up question real quick?
Yeah.
Don't forget what you were about to say.
Okay.
So RFK's ideas, like inverting the food pyramid, are seen as kind of controversial. Some of his suggestions on treatments and things like that. To me, there's more science behind what he's saying than what we've been told for all these years. Yeah. I think now, especially after COVID, we're seeing, wait a second, have we been lied to? You're all changing the vaccine schedule for childhood vaccines is huge. But how do you balance that? And do you see much pushback? Because you're saying gold standard science, but a lot of it, people are like, this is new to them.
Well, you know, science is dynamic.
Right.
It's not static. Science changes over time. I'm a physician. I'm a surgeon. I'm a scientist. The way I do things, and I've closed my practice to be in this job, but the way I did things, for instance, in 2025 when I was still practicing, were very different than I was trained 20 years earlier or even 10 years earlier because science is dynamic and changes. And that's what Secretary Kennedy has said. What he has said is we always follow the science, but we have to be nimble enough and we have to be honest enough to say that if the science leads us in a different direction than it has in the past, that we are brave enough and we care enough about this country to make those changes. And that's exactly what you're seeing. You know, you mentioned about the vaccines. I mean, let me be very clear about this. And this, I'm glad you brought this up, Allison, because this is very important. Secretary Kennedy has not taken a vaccine away from anyone. Despite what the lying left will tell you, he has not taken a vaccine away from anyone. Now, what he has said is that we want people to decide what's right for themselves. Yes. We want parents to decide what's right for their kids. We want to put knowledge in their hands so they can make the best decision for them. He has not taken a vaccine away from anyone or anybody. Vaccines are still available. We did look at the recommendations, what the vaccine, the child vaccine schedule should be. And it wasn't just this was willy-nilly. No, what happened is the president said we need to look at this. And so what did we do? We went and we compared the vaccine schedule for children for other countries, other peer countries, countries like ourselves, advanced countries, and said, what are they doing? And we looked and found out that what we were doing was not in line, and they had good science backing them up. So all we did was we went from 17 to 10 vaccinations recommended, but we're not preventing anybody from getting a vaccine. What we've simply done is look at the science and say, this is what the science suggests. So Robert F. Kennedy has not pulled vaccines from anybody. He's not preventing anybody from getting a vaccine. He's simply saying, Mom and Dad, you make the decision for your kids. What we're not going to have in this administration is a government forcing and mandating vaccines into our bodies or medicines down our throat or advocating for cutting our children's body parts off for some left radical, really sick ideology.
I mean, we talk about all the time the regret we have. Like, in
Awful.
what world is it?
Welcome back, y'all. We are joined by Lieutenant Governor candidate John Wahl. John, how are you?
I am doing well. It's good to be on the show.
Well, we're glad to have you, glad to catch up now that the runoff now that the elections happened, we're in the runoff period. I know it can be exhausting, but we'd love to get your thoughts before we talk about the runoff and that process. Could you give us your assessment, your latest assessment of the maps and what is going to happen or what you think is going to happen next?
Yeah, the congressional redistricting.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So, obviously, as former state party chairman, I have done a lot of work with our redistricting, and been involved. The state party did multiple briefs to the Supreme Court, making the argument that it should be states and it should be our representatives, the people's representatives, who redraw maps as the Constitution lays out, not federal courts. And so, I've been really excited to see the Supreme Court, really going back and taking the right constitutional approach on this. These districts should never be about race. That is a very form of racism. If these liberals are trying, they're trying to still base things on the color of people's skin, and that is what we've got to get past as a country. So I really like what the Supreme Court is doing, and I think we still have a chance right now to go to a 6-1 map for this election cycle. I saw the governor delayed qualifying. I think that's the right move. I think expect the Attorney General's office to make a very hard push back to the Supreme Court, trying to go, back to the 6-1 map that the legislature held that special session for. And so hold, everyone should just hold for right now, because I don't think this is done on the legal side. And either way, though, once we have that final, whether it's that 5-2 or the 6-1 map, those 5 affected congressional districts, we're going to be, the people in those districts are going to be voting on them in August. So that's important for people to remember. Even if this goes back to 5-2, our elections are still going to happen in these districts, because the May election was suspended for these congressional districts. So the important time for voters is still coming up in August. And that's going to be when we decide these congressional maps.
So do you think, let's say that it turns out that it's 6-1, because if we go back to 5-2, it still feels like that was the old map drawn on race. I'm sorry, but that is just what it feels like. But if we do
100%.
if we do 6-1, is there a chance that in the future we could get a 7-0 map?
Absolutely. Look, I am a strong supporter of a 7-0 map. And look, I was hoping to actually get it done this year, because I don't think there's any reason for Republicans to compromise to Democrats. This is a battle for the very heart and soul of this country. And there's nothing Alabama could do more than making sure that we send Republican representatives, conservatives, to Washington to represent the people of the state, who are a super majority Republican populace. And look, if Democrats if this was reversed and the Democrats had this control, they wouldn't think about this for a second. They would have already switched to 7-0. They would already be shoving this down our throats. And when you have an enemy that's that aggressive, that's doing that's doing this to Republican states, or Republican voters across the country. I always point to New England. You've got 6 states in New England, and there's not a single Republican representative. There's nine congressional districts in Massachusetts alone. Their population is roughly very similar to ours in reverse. They've got about 40% Republican, 40% Republican, 60% Democrat. They don't have a single Republican congressman from Massachusetts. So we've got to fight fire with fire. We've got to be strong. We've got to be bold. We've got to hold the line and actually make sure that we send Republicans to represent the Republican state of Alabama in the U.S. Congress.
So true. So true. Very well said. So let's talk about this runoff period. It's 4 weeks long. It is exhausting. But what are your thoughts right now on the state of your race and issues that voters are raising to you?
Oh, look, great question. And I'll start off with how humbled I was by the election results. I got in the race late. I was kind of the underdog. I'm not getting the Montgomery, special interest money. That's all going to my opponent. In fact, it's very clear looking at the financial report this week. I don't have a single PAC on my report. The vast majority of my opponent's money is coming from Montgomery PACs. So I think this race is very clear right now. It is the conservative outsider versus the Montgomery career politician. And my goal is to continue what I've been doing. talking directly to the people of the state about the fact that I am a conservative fighter, that I want to go to Montgomery, I want to drain the swamp, I want to clean things up, and I want to fight for them. Because at the end of the day, that's what good government should do. It should be about the people, not about special interest groups.
And it seems so often that we've all, we can fall into it, but many politicians have lost the plot in that regard, that it is about the people and it isn't about the money and it isn't about all the other things. It's about the people and liberty and human flourishing. So that's refreshing. So do people, like, what issues are they talking to you about? What are they most concerned with?
Well, look, obviously economy is number one. There are a lot of people out there who are struggling just to put food on the table or pay for their prescription drugs or gasoline. And this is hurting the average everyday family, the elderly on fixed incomes. And I have a real heart in this area. I grew up, I was not, did not grow up in a wealthy family. I'm still not a wealthy man. I'm a small businessman who struggles with the cost of living just like everyone else. And this is one of the most important issues to me. I would love to do several things, if elected lieutenant governor. I would love to completely eliminate the grocery tax. We took a grocery tax holiday. Let's make it permanent. Let's actually provide some real relief to Alabama families immediately. And I would love to, work on phasing out our state income tax. I think it's going to put us at an economic disadvantage if we don't. And I think it's going to provide a real relief to the people of the state when we do that. And that's once again, that's what government should be looking at. How do we help our people have a higher standard of living? How do we help them make sure they can put a little bit more money in their pocket and be a little more successful so they can take care of their family? And the other issue is not far away. It's still taking care of the family. It's about education. We have an education system that are letting our children down, and not just in the numbers, not just our results, but more importantly in the indoctrination of our children. I am 100% passionate about getting the woke garbage out of our classrooms, out of in front of our kids, and returning reading, writing, arithmetic, history, and civics to our classrooms and putting that in front of our children. Because we should have curriculum and we should have schools that represent the values of Alabama parents, not unelected liberal bureaucrats.
It's so true. And it's unbelievable how much schools have gotten away with what's on kids' Chromebooks, what's on their Chromebooks, if it's a library that's on their Chromebook or in our libraries, just that alone. So my question to you,
and curriculum,
yes,
one of the calls, the state party chairman, one of the calls I got, the profession that I got the most calls from were teachers.
Really?
They were teachers. Oh yeah. Look, the teachers are upset. They're being forced. This curriculum that is out of touch with Alabama values is being forced on our local teachers. And I think it is an absolute tragedy. You have no idea how many teachers would call me as state party chairman and talk to and just in despair. Once he said, I can't do it, I'm going to retire because I can't in good conscience teach this material. And I think this highlights the fact, look, this problem is not on the local level. This problem is on the state and the federal level, where we have, whether it's intentional, and I believe it is, because I think we're in a battle for the heart and the soul and the minds for our children. But this is 100% about an agenda about undermining faith, undermining trust in God, undermining morals, undermining the family unit. And this is, our children are 100% being targeted. And I think that's why this battle is so important right now. This is the greatest battle in our society, in our country, for our society right now.
John, is there a way to, I know I can because I'm having an idea right now, because you're so right. If people saw what was in these books, and I've been able to look at some of them online, but is there a way to get your hands on textbooks? Because I think I would love for our show to be able to sometimes, or even in videos that we do, read some of the content that's in what's being taught from K-5 all the way up to high school. Because you're right, it's unbelievable.
I think that is a great idea. We passed one of the bills that I supported very strongly as state party chairman, and it was actually a party priority bill that we got across the finish line passed, is a bill, curriculum transparency.
Yes.
Because before, schools were actually not allowing parents to even look at the material being taught to their children. And we got that bill passed where they have to. And I already had parents, bring stuff to me. I would love to maybe, collect some of that, maybe come on the show.
Yeah.
And we can go through it together.
Let's do that. I really think that's important, because we get so lost in, but this is Alabama. That would never happen. Half the battle is convincing people, no, indeed, it is happening. And
No, I know
maybe
it.
people
And
would be a little, well, we're very lucky. Alabamians do care, but they can't care if they don't know what's in there.
100%. It's one of those things. Transparency, honesty, shining a light. We're in the darkness. That's what our job is, right? And that's what a good leader does. And that's what I'm going to do as lieutenant governor. I'm going to make sure that we have that transparency, that we have that accountability for the unelected bureaucrats. Because remember, a lot of this is not coming from our elected officials. It's coming from the unelected bureaucrats, both in Alabama, but to be honest, outside of Alabama, the Federal Department of Education has gotten its strings into our education system. And I'm a strong, advocate of Donald Trump's idea. It's time to get rid of to completely abolish the Federal Department of Education. It was unconstitutional to begin with, and we need to just get rid of it.
Absolutely. Completely agree with you. Long past time. So let's pivot from this conversation into another. We have a couple of more minutes, but I wanted to talk to you about the poll that shows that you are in the lead by 15 points. Have you seen the poll?
Look,
I'm sure you have, but I want to know your thoughts. Is this real, or is the real poll the poll on election day? Is this encouraging, fuel to your fire? What do you think?
Oh, look, 100% this is encouraging, because I think it continues the trend. Because look, 3 weeks before the election, there was a poll or 2 weeks before the election, there was a poll that came out that had me at 13 to 30. And I think what this says is that momentum is continuing. The voters are looking at the candidates. They're hearing the message. They're looking at the record. They're looking at where the candidates stand, and they understand that I am that conservative outsider. I'm the guy who wants to go and fight for them, to stand up for their values, to defend their rights and freedoms and their God-given, constitutional rights. And that's what they're looking for. They're tired of career politicians. They're tired of the status quo. And they're looking for the candidates who will actually break down the walls, drain the swamp, and actually return freedom and liberty and control back to the people where it belongs. And so I'm excited about the poll. I think this speaks to that. It continues the momentum of the movement that I'm so excited about, because it's not me. This race is not about me as a candidate. It's not about my opponent. This race should be about the people of Alabama, and I'm going to continue to fight for them. And I think we're seeing the momentum of a movement where people want to return, want to put the outsider. I want to send the outsider to Montgomery to fight for them.
So do you think that's perhaps the reason why the race went negative so quickly? Why?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Look, and if you notice all these attacks, the career politicians are desperate to hold on to power. It's who they are. It's what they are. And if you notice, all the attacks against me, they're all personal. They're all super negative. They're personal. They're stuff that's been made up or twisted. And it's because you really cannot attack me on my record. I have been that conservative fighter out there. And I just, look, I'm not going to stoop to that level. You're not going to hear me going on personal attacks, attacking family. And I just think it's really sad that we've gotten to the place where candidates, candidates feel the need, where these career politicians feel the need to attack people on personal things and go into just absolute trash and mud and lie. But I'm very proud, because look, that didn't just start with the runoff. That was in the primary. And I think the people of Alabama saw through it. They realized they were lies, and they voted. And, they sent a very clear message on the primary election night that they saw through the lies. They were going to vote for John Wahl, the conservative fighter, because they knew that they knew that the establishment and the career politician was lying.
Listen, based on the event was it Monday night, JP?
It's Tuesday night.
Tuesday night. Look, this week has been long. Okay. Alabamians care. And that's a great part about being from Alabama. Okay. 2 questions. We'll finish with the question of where people can find you so they can follow along. But we don't often get to talk about what it is that you do. People hear and know that you're a butterfly farmer, which is fascinating. You explained it to us once, but could you tell people one more time what it is and who? I had a child who worked at an aviary once, but it also had butterflies nearby in those. I don't even know what you would call it. But can you tell people exactly what it is that you do and who you supply your butterflies to?
100%. 100%. I actually, leptozoology is the technical term, and that was my first love. I grew up on my family's farm. I love the outdoors. Still to this day, my idea of a good vacation is hiking in a national park, just out in God's creation. And I loved, I raised butterflies and moths as a hobby. Growing up, that was my, what I did for fun. And I've always been an entrepreneur. Yeah. And I remember the first time I was on a field trip at the Huntsville Botanical Gardens. They had a butterfly house. And they had some butterflies I had never raised before. So I asked them if they sold butterflies. And they're like, no, we buy them. And that was a light bulb moment, because I knew if they bought butterflies, they could buy them from me. And went and met with their CEO over there, and they were my first customer. And it's grown from there. So it's a small industry. I'm actually on the board of directors for the International Butterfly Breeders Association.
Wow.
There's about 300 members in the country. And we're a very tight-knit group. It's a small industry where we love what we do. There's three main parts to the industry. One is releases, like for weddings or special events. The other are school kits, where we, have kits where the caterpillars or the eggs are sent to school, where the kids can raise them and see the entire life cycle of the butterfly, the metamorphosis process. And I love that educational aspect to it, and helping our kids have a little bit of dose of real life in the classroom. And then my specialty is exhibits. So I supply zoos and exhibits and botanical gardens across the country, where they're having flight houses where people can come in and tour and see butterflies. And so that's kind of my specialty in the market, more wholesale. On a good week, we're shipping out about 5,000 butterflies a week.
Wow.
Just, keeping these exhibits supplied where people can come in and see the beauty of God's creation. And I love my job. I always say I'm blessed. Not everyone gets to do what they love. And I do. And I'm glad God gave it to me, because it's I always joke that he must have a sense of humor. He gave me the most ugly and the most beautiful parts of life, butterflies and politics.
Wow. That's good. That's deep. That's deep. That'll preach. So for people who want to follow along with your butterfly farming and with your political outsider career, where can they find you?
Well, we're on all major social media. Right now, John Wahl for Lieutenant Governor. And then my website is votejohnwahl.com. So they can sign up there to volunteer for a newsletter and stay in touch. I always like to stay in communication with the grassroots. I'm a grassroots candidate. I believe in being that, staying that, keeping myself humble and staying fighting for the cause. So I love to stay engaged and be the candidate who's engaged with the grassroots.
John, thank you so much for joining us today. It was a pleasure.
Absolutely. Good to be on the show.
All right. Talk to you soon. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Lieutenant Governor candidate John Wahl. Next week, we will be joined by his counterpart, Wes Allen, who is from a part of the state that my husband knows well. So we'll have questions and good conversation again, but we're always pleased to be joined by the people who are in the runoff. It is exhausting. There's not much time left, but pay attention, because as JP and I said in our video, and maybe JP will post the whole thing on Saturday, this is where it heats up. This is where it gets to the jalapeno 3-stack cheeseburger level.
Yeah.
It's hot. And there's a lot. Anywho, okay, JP, in the last few minutes of the day, what else we got?
Do we want to briefly talk about this true crime story in Homewood?
Do we? I
mean, if you want to lay the groundwork of what the heck happened and what's going on.
Listen, when Chris was in residency, the only thing that kept me company was my little newborn daughter, Emmy, in Dateline NBC. But I began to think that I was banned. Okay. He suggested to me lovingly that I stop watching Dateline. But I know a good true crime when I hear it. And I saw yesterday on Twitter that WBRC, I believe, is the one that has a podcast about it. And I'm going to listen. I haven't listened to it yet. But apparently a man met a hitman in the parking lot at the Walmart in Homewood.
Homewood, Alabama.
Homewood, Alabama. Sweet Homewood. My Sanford Bulldogs are in Homewood, Alabama. My husband's business, Homewood, Alabama. Homewood, Alabama. Savage's Bakery. And then, of course, the new part where there's the Walmart and the Sam's Club. But in the Walmart parking lot, this man met with a person who was going to take out his wife and their children. except he was talking to the FBI. So you're going to have to stay tuned, and maybe you know more about the story than I do because I've got to go listen to it. I don't know what happened, but I was shocked because most true crime happens in other places. This one right here.
Yeah, not right here in Alabama.
Isn't that fascinating?
That's crazy.
So I'll let you know, unless, of course, you've already listened to the podcast. But I'm going to find out because I need to know what is going on in the parking lot of the Homewood Walmart.
Speaking about the FBI part of it, though,
Yes,
that is a job. Like, if I love what I do. I wouldn't do anything else. But if I could snap my fingers and do one other job, if I could choose, it'd probably be FBI undercover like that. CIA is a bit too global, and
You're not a sociopath.
I'm not a sociopath.
No tendencies.
But being an FBI, I can't remember the guy's name. I can see his face right now. There was a former FBI agent that went on Joe Rogan's podcast one time, and one of his jobs was he was embedded in a motorcycle, like a biker gang that trafficked drugs.
Ooh.
And like a crime gang. But he embedded himself because he looked like a biker. He's like 6'4", jacked, ponytail, but he had like a deep voice like this. Like he was perfect for the job. But he told a story one time about how like he became friends with these guys. One of his best friends was one of the biker gang members.
Oh no!
And
trouble is going to ensue.
There was one day they thought there was a rat amongst them, and he had a wire on him sewed into his clothes, and they stripped him down looking for a wire and patted him down. And he actually said on there, he was like, if they would have found it, I would have been dead. He goes, it was only by God's grace that he went over the part the wire was and they didn't feel it because it was sewn in the clothes. But that, I don't know, like, and then being on the phone and acting like a hitman and, catching somebody like that, it is extremely stressful and probably not for the weak-hearted, but it just seems like I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, but it seems fun.
It seems like a great job. That FBI is fascinating. I'm the same as you. I'm doing what I dreamed of doing since I was 8. This is what I wanted to do. But when I was growing up, I thought being an anthropologist would be fun because it meant going on digs in Israel and Egypt. And I didn't end up doing that. So I think FBI is far more exciting, JP. I like it. I can see you doing that. Maybe. Are you an FBI agent right now? Who knows?
You got me.
Do you have
I've been
you
spying
ever,
on y'all.
I figured you did. And I figured that's what you were doing. I do have people that I come across every once in a while that I think, you seem like an FBI agent. You just seem like it. Have you guys ever come across those people? It's not often, but from time to time, I'm like, who do you work for?
Are you a real person?
Are you real? So do you have any would you rathers? Never have I ever?
Would you rather have a permanently raspy duck voice every time you get angry or an uncontrollable loud hyena laugh?
Oh, duck. Because if you are duck voiced when angry, it would make you stop being angry because it would sound ridiculous.
Yeah, I'd probably go raspy duck voice too, because you can sound like Donald Duck whenever you're mad. You're like,
and then nobody's taking you seriously. And God, see, I told you, in your anger, don't sin.
By the way, we asked this last time John was on, but you weren't here, and then we didn't get your answer to this. I think this is a good one. Would you rather be followed everywhere by a dramatic mariachi band or followed by a highly judgmental mime?
A mariachi band. What did you say? A mime?
I said mariachi band because you can walk in. It's like
because I've already got music playing in my head most of the day. Where you think this would be a great song for this moment, but the mariachi band makes everything fun.
I'd just get mad if the mime was behind me and everything I did, he was like,
"Yeah, no, I already do that to myself. I already mime at myself over my judgments."
But then he can't tell you what he's judging you about, and you're like, "What? What is the problem? What did I do?"
It's like toddlers who can't talk yet.
Yeah.
Or little ones. You're like, That's good. That's a good question. I like it a lot. So tomorrow we have the Bussy Brief, but we also have Music Please, Congressman, perhaps Senator Barry Moore. So tomorrow is not a day you want to miss.
10 a.m. Barry Moore, start the show.
Be here. He's going to be right there. Sinclair's going to be right here. I'm going to be right there. It's all happening tomorrow. Don't miss it. But until then, stay on the right side. Make good choices. Bye.